My name is Danielle Legree, and I teach public relations courses in the strategic communications sequence for the A.Q. Miller School of Journalism and Mass Communications at K-State. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about a really cool example of how public relations initiatives can be integrated with social media to do some really cool things to tell the story for an organization. Let's first start off with getting a strong understanding of what public relations is. And my favorite way to explain public relations is to say that it's really the intersection of creativity and strategy. So what does this mean? So when we're using public relations activities, we're thinking about a creative way, a unique way to tell an organization's story. And the ultimate outcome of those unique storytelling activities is to garner a positive image for the organization that you represent in the minds of the different audiences that have an interest in the organization. But to successfully execute that creative storytelling, we have to start with strategy. And that means that when we are approaching public relations from a strategic perspective, we are thinking about achieving communication and organizational goals. So we're considering what are the ultimate outcomes of this public relations activity and how can we move forward in a strategic way that helps to create the most positive, successful impact for the organization that we represent. Now, public relations is kind of similar to advertising. So let's take a minute to talk about what makes PR different from advertising. And we're going to break down this kind of definition that I have for you here at the bottom of the page. PR professionals rely heavily on relationship building to earn positive third-party endorsements for the organization they represent. Now, let's break this down. Let's talk about relationship building. PR professionals work really hard to build relationships that are mutually beneficial between the public relations professional and different people that have a large influence among the audience that they communicate with. This audience can be Instagram followers, it can be readers of a blog, it can be a reporter or a news anchor that shares really important information with the general public. So when it comes down to it, public relations professionals are constantly working behind the scenes to stay in communications with bloggers, influencers, reporters, community leaders to make sure that that relationship is solid so that when a PR professional has something good to say about an organization or needs to effectively disseminate important information about that organization, that specific person that the PR professional is reaching out to will already know that person and will be able to take advantage of this information that the professional is sharing. Now let's talk a little bit about what I mean by earn. So this is a key differentiation between public relations and advertising. So when we talk about earning media space or earning, maybe it might be a feature story space in a magazine or a product feature with a blogger or an influencer, this means that that specific storytelling initiative is earned, not paid for. So for example, an advertisement that you might see aired during the Super Bowl, there was a lot of money that was spent to make sure that that specific ad feature was aired during the Super Bowl. For example, if an influencer is talking about a product that they really like, on an Instagram story, if that specific feature was not paid for by an organization, that specific feature resulted because of the relationship that the PR professional for that organization has with that blogger. So that specific feature was earned and not paid for. Let's now talk about an third-party endorsement and what that means. When an organization receives a third-party endorsement for its products, its services, its reputation, this means that a trusted source speaks positively about your organization. Now, I know that this is a lot of information, so let's break this down even further, and I'm going to share with you a really cool example of how Dairy Queen leveraged public relations activities for one of the first times ever to successfully launch its summer blizzard menu. So the ultimate challenge was to launch the summer blizzard promotion. And we know that Dairy Queen usually relies heavily on traditional advertising, especially during the summer. We see their commercials. You might hear something about Dairy Queen's new blizzards when you're listening to Spotify or listening to Pandora. But this time, Dairy Queen thought, let's do something really unique. Let's tell the story behind what makes our summer blizzard so special. So the idea was to use a PR media kickoff event and social media efforts to celebrate summer blizzard. And as you can see here, hashtag DQ Blizzard Break was the creative cornerstone that made the launch of the summer blizzard menu so successful. So let's take a look at how this worked. Now talking about breaking down that definition of public relations, the DQ PR team worked really hard to build relationships with reporters and influencers through media relevancy. So when they were deciding how they were going to tell the story and share the story with reporters and influencers about the summer blizzards, they knew that they could rely on the relevancy of the first day of summer, June 21st, the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, would be a great time to launch the summer blizzards. They also knew that Dairy Queen is a hot spot for families during the summer. It's an opportunity for families to take a break at Dairy Queen and just slow down and spend quality time together as a family. So when they were reaching out to share the story of summer blizzards, it was about a lot more than the blizzard product. It was about what the blizzard represents during the summer season. That goes back to the unique storytelling that we talked about earlier at the beginning of this discussion. And they also decided that another unique way to tell the story was to launch a brand immersion media event. And this means that reporters and their families and influencers and their families were invited to this event at a rooftop location in New York City that was decked out in everything Dairy Queen. Their families had the first taste of the new summer blizzards firsthand, and they were able to share that story with their followers and their readers. Another really exciting component about the summer blizzard launch and using public relations to get the word out was the social media component. Hashtag DQ Blizzard Break, building on that idea that Dairy Queen is the perfect stop sign, okay, during the summer, the perfect time for families to stop and take a break and slow down and enjoy a slower pace for summer. So let's take a look at how this all played out. We have the hashtag DQ Blizzard Break media event. Reporters, news reporters and their families, people that represented magazines, online news media, they were there at a rooftop in New York City for a brand immersion event celebrating the launch of the summer blizzards. So what we see here are pictures of these people with their families celebrating the first day of summer, the summer solstice, longest day of the year, celebrating that with ice cream and spending quality time with their families. So let's take a look at the outcomes of this PR effort that incorporated a media event as well as social media components. So there's a really influential, what we call mommy blogger, who has a really large presence online, a lot of followers. Her platform is called Stroller in the City. So she was one of the influencers that was invited to take part in this event and be one of the first people to taste the new summer blizzard promotion. So you can see here that she shared one of the pictures from the events across all of her social media channels. And what she says here about it is celebrating summer solstice with Dairy Queen, trying out their newest flavors for summer. Check out my Insta story to see more about this event and the summer blizzard flavors. So this is a prime example of a third-party endorsement. So we're not just talking about Dairy Queen talking about how great their new summer blizzard flavors are. Instead, someone else is endorsing how great the new Dairy Queen summer blizzards are. And those types of third-party endorsements are oftentimes more trusted by the people that we are trying to influence than your typical paid advertisement. Another really cool outcome of this specific event that this blogger, Stroller in the City, when she shared her story across all of her social media channels, it received 75,000 impressions across social media only. So this means that 75,000 people were exposed to this content across her social media platforms. This is really amplifying the amount of people and the amount of exposure this unique story is getting. And here's a lot of different types of top tier media that were in attendance at this event, the DQ Blizzard Break, celebrating the summer blizzards. So we have a lot of high profile media here, a platform called Delish that you've probably seen, Parents Magazine, Women's Health, New York Family, Nation's Restaurant News. We had representatives from all of these different types of top tier media talking about the Dairy Queen's summer blizzard promotion. So again, a lot of what we call in public relations earned media. So Dairy Queen didn't pay for these types of features in 17 Magazine or Delish Magazine. We see You're Going to Lose It over Dairy Queen's summer blizzard lineup. This was earned as a result of those relationships that Dairy Queen was developing with influencers and reporters, and the relevancy of having that media event on the first day of summer, the summer solstice. So now let's talk about why this PR initiative was so successful. It relied on those key components of successful public relations that we discussed at the beginning of this conversation. It relied on relationships, unique storytelling. So the story was about so much more than just the summer blizzard promotion. It was about taking time for parents to stop and slow down and enjoy Dairy Queen's new summer blizzards with their families. This resulted in a lot of third-party endorsements. So influencers, reporters, writers for some really cool media outlets were talking about how great these new summer blizzards were. The social media component also extended the reach of this really creative story. So the hashtag DQ Blizzard Break was shared across all of these different media outlets that really provided another creative and strategic cornerstone for this specific PR initiative. All right, I just want to give you all one more shout out about how great the field of public relations is. If you want to learn more about the opportunities that you could have as a future career in public relations, feel free to reach out to me, Danny Legree at ksu.edu. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi everybody, I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the news director here at Kansas State University, and we're inside the studio of Channel 8 News, where every week we have live broadcasts that show the information and all of the truths that are happening all around our area. We put those up on the internet, and those can be shared on social media in some very easy ways. However, while we here at K-State are certainly focused on only truthful information, that can't be said for everyone else on social media. So in this portion of our efforts to make you a social media maven, we'll be talking about what do you share and where do you get it? That term fake news, what does it mean? Where's it from? How can you guard against it so that when you are taking a look at things on your device and when your consumers take a look at things on their device, how can you make sure what you are sharing is actual truthful information? There are a few tips and a few different ways to do that. But first, we've got to figure out what is fake news, where does it come from, and how can we avoid it at all costs?
The first thing to figure out when we're talking about sharing fake news on social media and not becoming a victim of that and not becoming a purveyor either is what exactly is fake news. So in this little section here in our social media information, we're going to talk about misinformation on social media, a little bit of a user's guide as to how you can avoid it, find out what it is, and not be one that shares it. First of all, we got to figure out what fake news actually is. Well, it's lies or mistruths. Look, I don't like the term fake news. Fake news implies that it's actually news. News to me as a journalist means that it's truthful, that it's verified and verifiable, that somebody else could come in and do the exact same thing. Well, that's not exactly what we're seeing here. We need to make sure that fake news is not what we're sharing. News, then, is not what I would like to call it. I call it fiction, something somebody has made up. It could be a number of different things. It could be outright lies, so falsehoods. So something that somebody is sharing that is not appropriate. It could be half-truth. So taking something that's partly true, changing the way it's said, and giving us something that's different, or it could just be an article that is totally made up, just trying to mislead us or trying to create some kind of outrage or anger, especially at one of your opponents. So that's what we see a lot in the political view. Sometimes we share this stuff without even knowing, like my little comic here says you can't trust anything on Facebook. So you're going to delete your account? Nah, I'm going to post it to Facebook. How often do we do that? Hey, did you see this? Well, I mean, we don't want to do that. So why does it even exist? Well, a few things. First of all, to influence opinion. We see it a lot politically. So we see it where someone wants to make you think something, wants to make you come to their side and gather support for something that actually isn't true. Also, to make money. This is a big one. So we see people from other countries. We see people from areas of the United States who say, if I can get enough clicks, I can make a lot of cash. I don't care why it is. We've done a number of studies and interviews with people who have created fake news, especially over the last 5 years. And a lot of them said, hey, if somebody clicks on it, I've got an ad on it, I'm making a ton of money. So what do I care? They don't care. They just want to watch it burn. And that's where we come to the last one, just to create chaos. They just want to have everybody do something that's nuts and want to see if they can influence people because they just want to influence anyone. Well, there are 4 different kinds of reporting and 4 different things that we might see in these things that you view on social media. There's information, there's misinformation, there's disinformation, and propaganda. These come from Al Tompkins from the Poynter Institute. Information is what it says. It's truthful information that someone has reported. Misinformation are things that could be things that are shared inadvertently. The reporter gets something wrong and so shares it, or reports it, but it's wrong. And so it's mistaken information. Then there's disinformation, something that is purposely trying to get you to think something differently by sharing of information on purpose that is wrong. And then there's just plain old propaganda. Propaganda is when someone shares something to try to make you believe something that is purely untrue. We see that a lot with governments or things that happen in various regimes where they are just trying to keep the population from thinking something that may or may not be true. So where does it come from? Well, it can come from a lot of different places. And in fact, you can also create it quite easily. Here, let's do something real quick and see if we can figure out how to do this. So here's an article that we found not too long ago. Italy preparing for an Easter lockdown as COVID-19 cases grow exponentially. Well, let me change that headline to say something different. We're going to right click it and we're going to hit inspect. That'll bring up all of the HTML. And in there, we have the code for this headline. So let's change the headline into something that might be a little more controversial. Italy blames the virus on the US. Says White House spread on purpose. Hit return. We'll close this out. And now you can see we've got a whole new piece. Italy blames the virus on the US, says the White House spread it on purpose. We now take a screenshot of that, share it on social media, and suddenly, well, it's anywhere around the world. And while the article doesn't actually exist, it is still able to be used. All right, so let's take a look then on how do we combat it. First of all, our fact check list. We need to make sure that what we're seeing is factual. First of all, is it too good to be true? A lot of times when we see something that's too good to be true, it actually is too good to be true, or too controversial, or too crazy. You see those nutty headlines, and first of all think, I need to watch out for that. Next, do you know who wrote it? Find out. Is the author's name listed? Are they with a reputable news organization? That's part of being able to be a savvy user. Our goal is to be users that understand when we're being fooled. And so, first of all, find out, is it from a content provider that you can trust? And are they the only ones writing it? Search out. Is this an article that you can't find anywhere else that's claiming to be the one and only true source of information? That's usually a dead giveaway that they're not the only true source of information. News flies fast, and there are great reporters all over the place. And if it's a major story, it's going to be reported in multiple areas. So double check and cross check to make sure that you see it. And can you confirm it with an independent source? You can go to things like Snopes.com or PolitiFact and all those other types of areas. And that's where you'll be able to find where these rumors are coming from. There are a lot of different places online that debunk the rumors and the things that are going to be injurious or terrible to actually share. So you want to make sure that you know what you have before you share it on social media. And that includes understanding where the bias leads. And so here's an area, you can pause this if you want on this to take a look at where your favorite area lands. I mean, you can view here that something like AP, the Associated Press, this is going to be right down the middle. And here, this shows where the bias is and how reliable those sources are. So you can see that CNN moves a little bit left, Wall Street Journal moves a little bit right, but they're still pretty well factual reporting. Whereas if you move further down and figure out where do you get your information from, do you get it from Occupy Democrats or OAN or Fox News, you'll find that some of these are speculative or sometimes unfair. So you have to understand where it's coming from and what it is that you're going to do with it. So go to your fact check list, take a look on this, and be careful when you share on social media. Someone once said that a lie gets halfway around the world before a fact can put its pants on. Things that are sensational, they move fast. And things that are nuts, they can move even faster. So as you're looking at things on social media, make sure that you are a great consumer. Make sure that, first of all, you understand there may be somebody out there trying to trick you, and that you can take that, search it out yourself, and find out what it is on social media that is going to be good for you to share, and something that's going to be good for anybody that follows you to be able to share as well. Thanks for listening. I'm Andrew Smith, News Director at Kansas State University. Happy clicking.